So finally, would you like to read us a passage from Stormland?
Yeah. One of Stormland has in it several discrete communities, separate communities that trade with one another. To some extent, they're back down to your basic barter, and they are all squatters. And they've one of the things about Stormland, why would anybody stay there? Well, one of the reasons is the whole town, if you could survive, is your oyster. It can be scavenged and scrounged a lot, and a lot of things taken from it and sold outside Stormland if you can get them there, and also you can have your own building and create your own little world there, and sort of in a sense, and people do that. So there's one place where they have their own religion that is sort of inspired by the storminess of the environment. And our hero goes there in search of information about a series of murders that are taking place in Stormland. And while he's there, he sees the leader of this little religious cult sect in the midst of his squat, the little kind of community that they've created there. And this is what one of the rituals looks like from our hero's point of view. Both Daryl and Gerald are there together watching this. And also, I'll just mention that Daryl doesn't know it, but he's getting sick, because when you go to Stormland, there's a pandemic every third day or something. They have ways to fight it, but diseases are moving north from the south is one of the consequences of climate change, and some of that sweeps through town. So our hero is having to deal with some of that too. Okay. It was like an angry galaxy. The projection of a hurricane on the screen behind Larry's stage set whirled furiously, then sped up. And after a few seconds, an angry representation of a human eye materialized in its center. To the right was a staging area concealed by a screen, an old sail canvas stretched on a wooden frame. The canvas was painted with an outline of a city skyline. The swirling image from a projector on the ceiling was brief, battery power was precious, and was quickly replaced by the silhouette of Larry Scarab. Scarab being the sacerdotal surname he'd chosen for himself. He's the high priest. He came limping out in front of a screen backlit by hidden lanterns. Webb and Gerald stood at the back of an assembly of the squat's people, about 60 of them sitting on the floor, including 7 children. Smokeless was standing near Webb and Gerald with the old rifle cradled in her arms. A show it was. Larry was wearing no shirt, only his cami pants and rubber boots and the medallion on his chest. His face was brightly painted with a hurricane pattern centered on one eye. He had a scarab tattoo on each of his shoulders. He stepped forward into a pool of light, waving his arms, and began to bellow, partly extemporizing as he limped back and forth. Out of chaos, all things arose, like a random number generator, a 1,000,000-card deck forever shuffling, dice infinitely tumbling. Webb couldn't hear it all from here in this echoing concrete hall. He caught pieces of it like storm debris blowing by. And yet, the high priest, Larry Scarab's charisma was unmistakable. And from this arose the jet black spirit of what inevitably gave birth to life itself, and the dark spirit forever winding through it, and the shape of DNA, the double helix, the spiraling molecule which reproduces gigantically, micro to macro, to become a hurricane spinning. Seth is the warrior in armor of black, whose spear is lightning, who rides a storm his steed. Our enemy is our friend. His engine is the power that created life. We appeal to his mercy, the mercy of Seth, the power of Seth, the glory, the ineffable energy he throws at us can be harnessed and harvested and at last harmonize. Then the screen was tugged jerkily up by someone using a backstage hoist, revealing a rusty hodgepodge metal barrier covering most of the concrete wall. The wall shuddered, thudded as if some giant was hammering on the other side with its fists. The audience reacted with murmurs of fear and excitement, though it was a giant who was nearly always with them, the hurricane. Larry swung about to face the metal barrier and shouted, "Ave, Ave, Ave, Steth! Ave!" "What the fuck?" Webb muttered. His head throbbed. He felt as if he were in a bad dream. "Yes, indeed," said Gerald. Then the barrier itself, a kind of curtain of steel, began to crank creakily up, exposing a concrete wall painted with a multitude of hieroglyphic eyes, arranged like stars in a galaxy. Each eye's pupil was a drill hole piercing the outer wall that faced the typhoon winds. The winds drove mist and shrieks through the holes, making Larry stagger as he turned to face the galactic hurricane, arms outspread, his hair blowing straight back. Webb found himself thinking of the storm that had killed Moira, and it hurt. The shrieking of wind breaking through evoked what it might have been like for Moira on the plane. And all the terrified passengers, their own screams matching the winds. Don't think about it. Gerald had said emotional pain completed him, but sometimes with his own pain, Webb felt he was more like top-heavy with it, as if its weight would pull him off balance and he'd fall. Webb forced himself to focus on the here and now. The compressed winds shrilled into the room, attenuated, piping through the holes in an approximate pattern of sound that rose and fell, a voice that might be saying, "Seth, Seth." The wind intensity increased and Larry was blown over, falling flat onto his back. Shuffling from behind the painted screen to the right came a bent, middle-aged man with a pouchy face, a drooping mouth. He was barefoot, wearing only a gray robe, and carried a cup, probably cadged from an old Catholic church. He brought the cup to the high priest, who was struggling to a sitting position, seeming unable to rise completely. The cup-bearer's patchy hair blew in the wind, pushing through the holes in the wall. His robe whipped and snapped, and he strained to remain standing as the concentrated gusts pushed furiously at him. Flaherty knelt and gave Larry scarab the old chalice. Larry held it up toward the storm, shouted something. Webb wasn't certain, but it might have been, "I drink the storm's energy. It heals me for as long as it chooses." Then the high priest drank from the cup, gave it to the bearer, shuffled away. The audience began a slow, rhythmic, united clapping. Clap, 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 clap. Larry pulled the brace off his injured leg, threw it aside, jumped to his feet, and danced as the clapping rhythm sped up. Then he walked back and forth without limping, touching those who knelt before him, giving them benediction. Clap, 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 clap. Abase yourself before Seth, god of storms. He has healed me once more. And that'll be enough, I think.
Thank you so much for that. Was spectacular. Wow. So Stormland is published by Blackstone Publishing, and it is available now. We will have links to purchase from our store. We will leave those at the description box to the video. So once again, thank you so much for taking time out of what I'm sure is a very busy schedule to sit with us today and have this conversation.
Glad to be here.